Good morning, everybody. Happy hump day. I hope it's been a very fruitful week for you. We're in the middle of it, and it's all downhill from here. All right. So yesterday, yes, I had a residual little sickness, which was a mucus ball that came to surface that I was choking on the day before, and coughed really hard as if it was just trying to attack me on the way out the door. And it seemed like it was. I mean, it was really aggressive. And so I coughed so freaking hard. And let me tell you, I've trained my diaphragm, and I've trained my alimentary canal up here and down there to release. Okay? Because anything in between this point and down there, both orifices, if you're a female, is your responsibility to activate, your responsibility to bring in food and to activate if there is a fight going on. Okay? So anything in between is your responsibility to make sure that it's fed and it's armed correctly, and then you're not subverting the natural processes with aggressive elements or anything in the medical holistic system. And so you have to understand there's two worlds that are going on within your body. And this is the best way I can explain it, because I felt like I was fighting my own body trying to get stuff out. Because part of my body, which is run by the children in my body, want to keep all the food in. They're hoarding, they're over consuming, out of control little immature B cells that don't have any regard for the future. And so it's going to try to take down the house and keep all the resources to themselves. But you as the person, the other side, the angel, and this is probably where the whole devil and angel come from. You as the angel now have to make sure the infrastructure, the platform, needs to stay intact. But what happens is that people let their immature B cells, the children in their body, take over and consume them and then destroy them. And so yesterday when someone was talking about they were constipated, I didn't ask what they did before. I didn't ask what kind of diseases they have. It's none of my business. But the only reason why you'd be constipated, okay, there'd be two reasons why. You have some kind of disease going on in your body, or you're doing so much J juice, you cured yourself. You cured your alimentary canal, so it's not releasing. Remember, if you can remember from a couple years ago when I said that jilly juice is high heat. Jilly juice is a cure. Okay? Doesn't mean it's going to cure your pain all the time, but when you're doing so many waterfalls and you've already released some of the demons, and then you do waterfalls again the next day, and there's nothing else coming out except for the J juice, you've now stopped the body from releasing the poop and everything else that you think you want to release. And so then not only are you not hungry, but you're not evolving and you're not releasing. You essentially did what they did in the ghost shows and in the Vampire Diaries, is you put a salt perimeter around any kind of evolution, and you've stuck, or you've trapped the little beasts inside. And so constipation is like where the beasts inside are trapped either through your means by curing yourself through so much saltwater flushes, or the little beasts inside want to keep the food in because it's a resource, it's a source for them to then keep replicating. You see how that works? People don't get this because they don't want to feel pain. They want to still live their regular life, which I understand. You have children, you have social obligations, but let me tell you, you have to now choose the world that you want to live in. You want to live in the future? You're going to have to take some time off and understand how to activate your immune system and give yourself the time, activate your alimentary canal. But some people can probably play both sides, but you have to minimize the social interaction. You have to minimize all of the expectations so you can give time to when you have to go and release the demons, where you have to go and sleep and rest and eat and take care of yourself. Let me tell you, some people out there are so active and so social and so want to be in the game, they don't give time to release those demons. They don't give time to eat all the food in the food supply. They don't give themselves time to rest. they have set up their life so much to where they are so stretched thin that they barely even have time to take care of the things they need to take care of, which is themselves, of course. And so now, this is why I'm saying, those that understand the JJ meta mentality and know that they're going to have to change the way they do things, change their lifestyle, change almost everything so they can give time to them releasing the demons, building themselves back up again, and then also developing the world that they want. Because I'm going to tell you, once you deal with all of your childhood diseases, because really what you're dealing with right now with constipation, all the issues that you have, it's a childhood demon that you've allowed to get so metastasized because of all the antibiotics. Now that childhood demon is now an adult demon who is still a child. Just look at people out there in society who are so immature, who have issues, emotional issues, intellectual issues, cognitive issues, addictions. They're still children, but they hold a job. They can pay their bills. They know how to be a productive member of society, but they're still children. They haven't matured. They're aging out, but they haven't matured. And so you're going to have to now allow the cells in your body to mature. And it's going to take some fucking time. So activating your immune system and your alimentary canal. Okay? And this is where I'm so glad I read that person's comment, because that is, as I'm writing about all of prehistory and history and the foundation of the medical holistic system, and going all the way back to like 2600 BC to Imhotep, and then Hammurabi, and then Hippocrates. And then eventually I'm going to get into the point of where now, how are you going to deal with your situation today? How are you going to set up your life so you don't fucking die in the old world, and that you set yourself up to transition slowly and then aggressively, if you need to, into the new world. And then you teach your children this, because let me tell you, your children are going to be suffering every single curse that you're suffering with right now, if not more, because of all the antibiotics and all the different diseases and all the different surgeries and protocols that are detoxes in the holistic world. They're going to be set up to fail. Okay, so you have an immune system that develops proteins, antibodies that develop to protect you, and then also should be released. Many people's immune systems are on point as far as developing proteins, because they're either doing therapies, okay, or they are just okay with being exposed to stuff with no therapy, and they're developing proteins. But the other side of it is that they're not releasing. Their alimentary canal is either cured, and so they're not hungry, and they're not eating all food in the food supply, and they aren't pooping. They're, or they're doing so much, they're not pooping. They're just taking in, well, they're pooping, but they're taking the food in. It's just being released with all the waterfalls. And then when they do eat a bunch of food, it's then stuck inside of them because their body is now trying to hold on to it, and it's also cured too. Because I remember when I did so many waterfalls and I thought I was done, then the next day I had to poop. And I'm like, well, what happened? How come I didn't poop last night? And so then you do harbor a bunch of that poop inside that has the little demons inside. So you have to then figure out another way to get those little demons out. Okay, so let me read this. So activating your immune system, jilly juice, and your alimentary canal, constipation. There are two sides of you. Let's say there's you as the angel, and then the other side of you as the devil. That's the children. Let's even just put that as an example. There are mature cells in your body, and there are immature cells in your body, B cell memories. And so children, let me tell you, people love their children. They will grant their children everything they want. They will give their children everything they want. And the children also give the parents so much social capital, so much love and light and all this other stuff. And so you see there is this what do you call it? Codependency with parent and child. Just watch your Facebook. You see how many parents just so depend upon their children giving them life and love and belonging. And then the child is also the same way. Oh, I love my mom. Oh, I love my dad. And they're the best parents ever. And why are they the best parents ever? Because they each grant each other every single wish, and they take each other down too. Okay? So there are two sides of you. Let's say there is you as the angel, then the other side of you is the devil. The devil has his demons, and they will give you everything you wish for, but also have their own payment system. Okay? And so let me read this. And so cancer, disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders is the other energy inside of you taking over, and the other entity only allows so much release. So those are the children. And you know how children are. They won't allow their parents to go too far if they don't want. Let me tell you, you watch how kids act with their parents if they're close and codependent. And so the children will only allow you to poop so much. That's why people were saying, well, I don't understand. If my pooping system is okay, why should I do a few waterfalls in the beginning? Why should I do, you know, this type of laxative effect with the salt water if I'm pooping every day? Because you're not pooping enough, and those little demons are still inside of you, and you haven't recalibrated. You haven't dealt with actually feeling the viruses that have been put under anesthesia until you use the salt water to activate. And let me tell you, people who have done the enemas activated their immune system too with the salt water. And they were feeling all the feelings of the viruses activating. So on both ends of your alimentary canal, through this way and through down there, if you are activating it through salt water or J juice, you're going to feel the symptoms. Well, you also can go way overboard and cure yourself to where then you're not releasing. You're just holding and trapping those little buggers inside of you. And so then you have to be strategic against these little children. I mean, let me tell you, parents have to be strategic with children. When kids are told no, like I was told no, or let's say I was locked in my room when I was a kid because my parents didn't trust that I wouldn't go and steal food, right? And so she would lock us in our room, and it was okay, fine, whatever. But I found a way to open my window. I found a way to actually take the window out and go outside and run around. My mom didn't know this. I knew how to open up the window and take the window off and run around, or crawl under the alarm system, because we had an alarm system in our house when we were kids, and she would turn it on when she would leave. And so we'd have the door open, yes, but we were afraid to hear the alarm system. And so we were stuck in our room, but then I figured out how to go under the alarm system, or wait, when they would leave, there'd be like a 30-second before it would go off. And then I would run around, go down the whatever, and run around and turn off the alarm before it went off. See, so children are strategic. And so the children in your body are strategic. I know I'm saying some pretty crazy stuff as far as my childhood, but let me tell you, my mom tried to be strategic, but I kept outsmarting her when it came to trying to hold me into my room or control me to such a level. I figured out a way to outsmart her, okay? And so children in your body will outsmart you if you don't be more strategic in the kids in your body and figure out how to circumvent them trying to control all of the food supply in your body and control how you feel, how you think, everything. And this is really spiritual when you think about it. And so cancer, disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders is the other energy inside of you taking over, and the other entity only allows so much release. Because if you were to release everything that was plaguing you, then the devil, demon, would not be in control. But remember, they are children, immature B cells that don't know the future and don't care about the future. All they care about is now, and consuming, even if it meant that you didn't live. How many kids out there don't give a fuck about the future? Okay? How many kids out there would tear down their own house just so they can have their fun and their parties and all of their whatever? And so that's what the New World Order is trying to deal with, is all these children, as well as adult children that don't have any kind of fucking future thought or any kind of self-control. And that's why we have NA, AA, we have domestic violence shelters, we have food shelter, we have so much services to deal with the children who haven't fucking matured. We have the justice system, we have social programs, we have mental health clinics, we have so many fucking services to deal with immature children. And you know the New World Order is tired of that. So you have to understand that children in your body, the immature cells, don't care about longevity. All they care about is about now and overconsumption. You as the parent must control your children so you can keep the infrastructure going, so you can raise your children in your body correctly so they don't destroy the infrastructure. Cancer, disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders are the children left in control, and the parent is diminishing. Look at your friends and family who are aging. The children are now in control, and look at mom and dad. They're being eaten alive by the children in their body. And then, of course, the children turn to addictions, the drugs, the alcohol, the rampant sex, all the distractions, all the adrenaline rushing things, all the things that make them stand out in our society. They're all about the beauty and the love, and the procreation and the endless amounts of pleasure. Look at all the children in our society that all they want to do is play. All they want to do is just hang out. All they want to do is, that's the out of control children that are in the adults who don't have it together when you think about it in body, mind, and spirit. That's why there's so many horror shows about children, the demon seeds, the children of the corn. Oh gosh, just look at all the horror movies when it's about children. Then you'll understand what Hollywood is telling you through the scientific way. But they're doing it through allegory. Chucky. And so when someone is constipated, there are so many reasons why. The children are replicating and they want to keep the food source inside the body. Or you have done so much J juice, you cured yourself, so you stop your body from releasing and evolving. Now I'm telling you, you have to train your body to release, and that means the digital method, eating all food, including milk, this freaking talk to text, to help bring up the mucus, to release the demons. You must eat all food, rest, and yes, you have to get the poop out without taking anything except for food and digging that shit out. And let me tell you, when I'm digging that shit out and I'm seeing all this mucus come out too, yes, it's not just poop that comes out, but you see the mucus. You see the long, stringy mycoplasma also coming out of your system. That's what is controlling it. Those are the immature B cells. They're microscopic mycoplasma type of thin film that envelops everything and gets into your joints, gets into all your organs, causes then all of your diseases. And so some people have a better time holding that back so they don't have diagnosable conditions, but they're aging. I see it on my CNN. I'm watching some of these CNN anchors who are really well put together, but I see the aging process creep in. I see some of them have a little jowly. Before they weren't as jowly, and then they start seeing the jowls come up. And so even though they're well put together with all the latest and greatest, with great genes, and then all the different procedures and the health stuff and the wellness stuff in the medical system, but you're seeing the little B cells are starting to take over. That's the aging process. When you have a bunch of kids who have sucked the life out of you, that's why parents who have so many kids also have issues. Because not only do the kids suck the life out of them in utero, as well as through their 18 years plus, but then they still have the immature B cells inside of them, eating them out from the inside. And so these parents are then becoming the martyrs in our society. They're becoming the sacrificial lambs. No, they're not turning back into children, but the children in their body are cannibalizing them, and then they get obese, then they get emaciated, and then you also just see that they're losing all types of intelligence. And then you really can't teach an old dog new tricks because they don't have enough parent cells to guide the children, because the children are out of fucking control. And so when someone says, oh, I'm constipated, it's now either you're going to destroy yourself with all the different things on the market to stop it, or with the J juice, or you're going to learn how to figure out how to be strategic against the children in your body who are going to want to keep the food sources in the colon. And so then you have to then figure out, all right, if you are obese and it's hard for you to get your finger in your ass to dig out the poop, then you're going to have to use the enemas until you get down to a size where you can then get yourself in weird angles in the shower or on the toilet to get that poop out. And let me tell you, last night it was an exorcism last night. I was fucking yelling, get out of my body as I was digging out that shit and letting the stuff come out and pushing through my body. And like, seriously, you have to fight for your life because you have had those little immature B cells be maintained and fostered by the medical system. Not only do they atrophy your alimentary canal with all the different medicines, but they also, with all the antibiotics, holistic and allopathic, have made the monster inside of you so huge, so large, where people are so dependent on that monster inside until that monster destroys them. And so it is like an exorcism. And it was painful. What I was doing last, so what did I do? I ate like 20 pot stickers. I had cereal and milk, a little bit of cereal and milk. I had an ice cream bar. I had 2 burritos. I had 2 pieces of fruit. I had the 1 nectarine and then like 20 or whatever cherries, because I knew I hadn't really pooped the day before, and I knew I had a bunch of burritos, I had a bunch of food, and I had just 30 or 20 or whatever pot stickers, and my stomach was screaming. And I'm saying, okay, here we go. Now, someone who is not very well in tune with the digital method and getting the poop out that way, trying to figure out how to do it, they're going to turn to something like a liquid to try to get out. Let me tell you, I wasn't drinking coffee yesterday. The day before I was drinking a bunch of coffee. The day before I was drinking a bunch of coffee. But I still had a bunch of poop in my system, so I wasn't releasing at the level that I needed to. But yesterday, my stomach hurt so much. And I'll tell you, getting that stuff out was painful. It was like having a stomach ache. And then you can feel your stomach ache. When you feel your sphincter inside, you can feel the stomach ache that you would have if you were laying in bed. But then finally everything started releasing. And I was also blowing my nose really hard and releasing, blowing my nose. And that's fighting to stay alive. That's fighting to get the little demons out of your body. How many people out there in Facebook land are that committed to themselves to fight to get the demons out? How many people are willing to put and change their life and willing to push that out and willing to understand their own body? The lady that commented that she's constipated, I don't know if she has it in her to stick her finger in her ass. I don't know if she has it in her to deal with the pain. I could tell people on my Facebook, they don't have it in them to fight for their life. They'll definitely complain about their life. They'll definitely go out and play the games out there in the world, the social stuff and all that stuff. But that's as far as they're going to take it. They'll do a little trendy shit with JJ, so I'll do a few waterfalls, and then, oh God, now I'm constipated. Now what do I do? You think they're going to stick their finger in their ass and dig that shit out? I doubt it. I fucking doubt it. And so that's why I don't give too much of my time to those that really are not about fighting for their life. They're about the shortcuts. They're about looking good on Facebook and playing the game and all of that. And they've been on my Facebook for years, but they're really not about fighting for their life. And so that's why you have to really be careful on who it is that you are friends with and who it is that you introduce this to, because they may not be prepared for what it really fucking takes. So that's why being the example on Facebook, like what I'm doing at some point when you can, is the best way, because you know that you're not any different than that other person. They may have different diseases than you, different shortcomings and different predisposed issues, but they still have to get the poop out. They still have immature B cells taking them over. They still have to fight their own fucking lifestyle and their family and their friends so they can actually have the time to do this. And let me tell you, family and friends are the worst things. They will take you down. But how can you tell someone who has like 5 kids, who has a huge circle of people that love them to death? See, we have been so programmed on all sides that no matter which side you take, no matter which angle you come from, you're coming up against some programming, some heavy programming. And so then what's the best thing? How do you introduce this without ramming it or trying to convert someone or trying to save someone? You become the example. You show people, you can fucking survive this. That yes, maybe you might be obese and you may not get your finger in your ass to pull out the shit because you feel so whatever. So you're going to have to find ways to just let your body deal with it. And you're going to have to feel uncomfortable and feel bloated. But you can't rely so much on enemas. I mean, you can on some level, but not really. I don't want to rely on having instruments stuck in me 24/7. That's the medical holistic way of sticking foreign objects in the body to go and manipulate them when you could do it yourself, or you have to sit with the pain and then train your body, yell and scream. Let me tell you, the sound strategy, when I was yelling in my bathtub, get the fuck out, let me tell you, that then reverberates through your alimentary canal, and then your body is now working so hard to get that shit out. And it was painful yet again. And I just sat, I just stared down at the floor of the tub going like, oh my God, this just sucks. But then it was over with. But I have no problem with pain. I have no problem with fighting for my life. And this mycoplasma from not only the COVID, but from my own childhood disease of pneumonia was a double, triple whammy. And it threw me for a loop. For at least a week during that process, I thought that, oh my God, am I harming myself by not going to the medical holistic system? Am I harming myself by just sitting with this and trying to get water down and trying to get food down? So you might second guess your choices in sitting with this. Because I did, but then I'm like, you know what? That's the little B cells inside of me. That's the little fucking monster inside of me trying to tempt me to stop the pain. But no, I sat with it. I dealt with it. And so if I'm even questioning if I should be sitting with the pain, let me tell you, those that have major issues, those that have their life so set up to be social and be all whatever, you think they're going to have the strength to sit with their fucking pain? And so not everyone's going to be able to handle this. And so you don't go and sell this to anyone specific. You become the fucking example. You talk about your suffering in some way, whether it's private message to me where I can put it out there anonymously, or you put it on your own fucking Facebook, and then you tell people, you can survive this. Yes, it's going to be a fight. Yes, it's going to be a strategy. Because it takes a strategic New World Order to deal with the fucking children who are out of control. They had to strategize. You have to give them so much credit for the strategies that they have pulled left and right. And you're seeing the children, the right wing and the left wing, go fucking nuts because they don't realize that they've been outsmarted by their parents. And I outsmarted my parents as far as being locked in my room. If my mom were to listen to this now, and she'd be like, what the hell? My mom sent me a letter a couple years ago before I cut everything off. And it was a big, thick letter. So I know that she did not like me talking about any of my childhood on Facebook. And she has a law degree. She has a Juris Doctor. And so I know she uses her law degree to try to scare me into maybe potentially being quiet, because there's no reason for her to send me anything. I have my passport, I have my social security card, I have my, my birth certificate, or whatever, my being whatever citizen, I forget what you call it. I have all of that. And so there's no reason for her to send me anything unless she's screenshotting what I'm saying on Facebook and saying, you need to cease and desist talking about anything to do with me. You can talk about yourself. And so I didn't read that. I didn't read the letter. I sent it back. I sent it back to her. So if I don't read it and I don't see it, there's nothing she can hold over my head. And so I've outsmarted my own mother. Okay? Children can outsmart their parents at some point when the parents, children can if the parents are not very aware. But why should we have to go to that level of being strategic against our kids and our parents? Why don't we just raise our fucking kids right so that we don't have to strategize and how to outsmart each other? But that's the thing. That's when I knew that I had to cut it off, because she's going to play the fear games of using the law to shut me up so I don't talk about anything about my childhood. But that's not going to happen. It's my right to talk about my childhood. I'm not putting her in any bad light. She had to do what she had to do to control me based upon what she thought she had to do. I'm not mad at her for it. It's a little avant-garde. Locking your kids in the room with a hook eye, is not necessarily a good thing, because what happens if there was a fire, right? That's like kind of like a fire hazard. But what did you do? Is back in the 80s, you can't go back and be like, okay, I'm going to go and press charges. No, it's what they had. It's what they had to do for whatever reason. I survived. If I didn't survive it and I died in a fire, then maybe, they would have held them accountable. But that didn't happen, so there's no point in going there. But that's the thing, is that you as children have to be also strategic as well. But not strategic enough to tear down the house. You have to be strategic for yourself. Because the parents have to be strategic in keeping you safe, and the children have to be strategic in keeping themselves safe. I watched a thing last night about, it's called I Killed My Dad on Netflix. That poor kid had to have coping mechanisms to deal with a very abusive parent. Let me tell you, if my parents, if I was raised in this era with all the surveillance, I'm sure there'd be cameras all over the place. I'm sure that when you watch that movie, when people have such control issues, there's cameras everywhere. Oh God, let me tell you. And so I'm glad I was raised in the 80s, because it was a little crazy with all the other stuff, but they didn't have as much of the highly surveillance technology that the kids today who are dealing with really fucked up parents have to deal with. With the homeschooling too, where kids are being kept at home, so nobody knows what goes on in the home. So that's the other side of homeschooling, is then you don't know what kids are enduring at home, because there's no one for the kid to talk to. There's no school counselor, there's no teacher, there's no friends. I mean, you feel, let me tell, that's why we have to be so careful on who we bring into this world and who we get together with, because there's some evil people out there, and there's many people that don't understand this. There's children today, there's adults today that don't understand how evil people can be. They put on one persona, and then there's totally a different persona. And so anyways, long story short, okay, immune system activation and alimentary system activation is all relevant, is all dependent upon you first setting your life up to deal with the immune system activation. And that is waking up the viruses in your body that were put to sleep, but that do wake up through cancer, disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders, and other maladies. And so finally I realized that's what my PMD was based off. It was my childhood disease of pneumonia, that I'm sure they used massive amounts of antibiotics on me to put it to sleep, but it kept rearing its ugly head every so often. And it did alter my behaviors. Hold on. I know, sugar. All right, get out. Okay. It did alter my behaviors, and it did stunt my maturity. That's why I felt like such a different person than everybody in my class, whether it's in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, because the amount of antibiotics and the amount of sickness that I had to deal with. And so I wasn't up to the level of everybody else, because I was stunted biologically, cognitively. I came from a war-torn situation, and when you come from a war-torn situation and also have bacterial infections and pneumonia, and then you had antibiotics put on you, and then your parents and then she gave me a bunch of protein cereal, yes, but no sugar, hardly any sugar, of course no salt, and then controlling what I'm eating. When you're resorting to stealing food in your house, somebody is controlling your intake. So you could be starving, and nope, you can't eat that. And so then my sister and I, we became really adept at figuring out how to steal food in our own fucking house. And that right there, that sucks. When you criminalize eating in your own house. And so that's why a lot of people have issues, because their parents using food as a weapon, because they have their own issues. And so that's why I don't have any patience for anyone in my Facebook who is in the holistic allopathic world playing those games. And so anyway, so now you see another side of my life, what I had to deal with as far as surviving my childhood. But again, I can't be mad at them, because that's what they were taught. That's how they thought that they can control the situation. Was it right? Was it wrong? I'm just glad it wasn't during this surveillance era. So, anyways, you're going to have to dig that shit out. If you're constipated, you've done so much J juice, or you have other diseases, you're going to have to dig that shit out. You're going to have to train your alimentary canal to go through its processes. You're going to have to trigger your alimentary canal to push everything out. You can't rely on eating food to get it out. It's not always going to happen. You can't rely on any kind of laxatives. You can't rely on even J juice to get everything out, because you'll cure yourself and then you'll be even more constipated. And so at some point, you're going to have to deal with activating things yourself manually during this process. I'm 6 years into this and I'm still dealing with that because I have COVID and I still have my issues. 6 years later, I still have that pneumonia stuff that I'm now finally getting out. Will I have any more issues later on? We'll see. We'll see what kind of, we hear the monkeypox is in my area, so we'll see how the monkeypox. My husband rubs elbows with so many different people out there. He'll be going to a party, rubbing elbows with people. How many people in there have monkeypox or have the monkeypox vaccine? We'll see. Will he bring it home? We'll see. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.